Hi, I'm Ranger Erin, and today we are wondering how to read a map. Reading a map is a really important outdoor skill. Sometimes we like to rely on GPS to get us to different places, but unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work, especially in backwoods areas. So places that are far from cities, those places we really like to hike that'll get us out in nature, sometimes don't have the best reception. So reading a map is going to allow you to go anywhere in the world and be able to figure out where you are and where to get to the place that you want to be. Really important anytime you want to go out in nature. So we're going to be using a map to help navigate where we are in the park and then how to find a new spot in the park. So we're going to start off, we've got this map of the parklands. And the first thing, anytime you have a map, the first thing that you want to do is to check the title. So this one says the Parklands of Floyd's Fork. So I know I'm looking at the right map, because you don't want to have a map of Minnesota when you're actually trying to figure out where to go in Florida. So checking the title is the first thing you do when you've got your map. The second thing that you're going to do is that you're going to find what's called the legend, or sometimes called a key. So on this one, it's going to be down here at the bottom, and it's going to be a box of different symbols. So a symbol is going to be some type of shape or drawing that's going to tell you something about it. So a real life symbol that everybody knows is everybody can recognize that red stop sign. So we know that the symbol of the stop sign means stop. It's just like that on here. We're going to be looking for different types of symbols that are going to tell us something about how to read this map. So they're going to use symbols to point out different areas. So this map has symbols for our paddling accesses. They have symbols for our playground, for our trails, for our roads, for the waterway, and a lot more. So each one of those symbols is going to tell you something different about those areas, because it would be too hard to actually draw all of the real life stuff. So a symbol is just something that lets you know this is where it is, and then there's a real life area that's just like that playground. Now that you're a little bit familiar with what symbols are on your map, you're going to try and locate yourself on that map, or locate where you want to be, where you want to start. And that can include looking for a cluster of symbols that you would recognize. So if I wanted to be in this intersection of this bridge and the Louisville Loop Trail and also this Black Willow Trail over here, I would look for those three symbols that are all together, and I would know this is where I am on the map. Our next step is to get our map world and our real life world to match up, because that map world is a representation. It is kind of a mini version of the real world, but the difference between our real world and our map world is that my map world, I can twist it in any direction. So it can change directions, whereas my real world, I can't lift it up and twist it. It has fixed directions like north, south, east, and west. So our next step is to get the map world to match up with our real world. And that's where you're going to need some tools. So a compass is going to help you to locate where north is. North is always going to be in one direction. A compass uses magnets to kind of always point towards that north end. If you're going to places that have really good satellite reception, you can also rely on GPS, which will tell you where you are in the world. But you want to have something that's going to tell you real life world, this is the direction of north. And once you figure out where that real life world is, look at your map and you're going to see what's called a compass rose. And that's going to be a little arrow pointing north. And now I can match up my compass real life north and my map north. So now I've got my map pointing in the right direction. Lastly, I'm going to look for the scale. And that's going to tell me how much smaller my map world is than my real world. And it's also going to tell you how long is this trail that I want to go. And if you look for that scale, it's going to have some bar, it's going to have some numbers. Maybe it's going to be in miles, maybe it's going to be in feet, maybe it's going to be meters or kilometers. But I can measure some distance on my map and I can say this is 1 mile. So I can choose a trail that's going to be the right mileage. So maybe I want to go out for a 2-mile hike. I don't want to accidentally choose a trail that's going to be 10 miles long. So that scale is going to help me to figure out how long those trails are. Every map is going to be a little bit different. So some maps are going to be focused on things like roads, and they're not going to worry about anything else. They're only going to have roads on there. Some of our other types of maps are going to be really focused on waterways or state lines. So they're going to have different things that are emphasized in each one of our maps. They're going to have different information available to you. Some of our maps are even really nice enough to tell us about elevation changes, and that means high or low. So I can choose a trail that is really hilly if I want to do a really vigorous hike. If I want to go up a lot of hills and down a lot of hills, I can look for something that has a lot of elevation changes. Or if I want a nice easy hike, I can choose one that's super flat. So those maps that have elevation changes are really nice for our hikers. When you are using your map out on your trail and you're making a turn, you want to make sure that you're still remembering and check in with that north point. So when you turn right and you're out here with your map and you've got your map oriented to north, don't just turn right and turn your map to. Make sure that you're turning that map back to north. That way you're not going to get confused about where you're going, because our lefts and our rights do change with which way we're facing, but north, south, east, and west never change. For your hike, I want you to choose a trail you have never been on before, so something that's totally new. Use a map, use those map reading skills that we just went over with that compass. I want you to navigate how to get there, get onto that trail, hike that trail, and then how do you get back to where you started.
For your indoor activity, I'm going to challenge you to make a map of an indoor space or even an outdoor space. Make it one that you know pretty well. Make that map, make sure it has things like a title, a legend, that'll have all the symbols, and then you can have clues on there for a treasure. So you could have maybe one location, or I've done a series of numbers that'll all be put together to create a secret code. All right, challenge your friends to figure out your map, following along so that they can find the treasure or to solve the riddle.
Thanks for joining me. I'll see you all next time.